How we doing? How we doing? How we doing? It's been a while. I almost feel weird doing this right now. I don't know, last time was a month or so. Long enough for my boy Henny to ask if the pod was dead. Definitely is not dead, but it is for sure sleeping. Maybe a little bit of a coma action. Just, I think I've been expressing somewhat over the last couple episodes that just haven't been in some kind of funk that has lasted for I don't know how fucking long, but a little while. But I kind of feel like, all right, I'm making a change. I don't know. Whenever I talk to people lately and I explain I'm honestly kind of getting tired of living in Finland. I'm kind of getting tired of being the guy that talks about Finland, in the social media, the TikTok world, that kind of thing. And I've said before, life here is pretty great and pretty awesome, super comfortable. It's super easy. But then the flip side to that, I feel, is it's not that challenging or fulfilling in a certain way. I feel like I'm still at this stage of my life where I don't know. I almost want some hard shit to happen. And it's then when you get into ultimate first world society type of shit, you start inventing problems and inventing things to be mad about and inventing things to be sad about and depressed and all these things. And I feel like through my time here, I was kind of getting into that thing. To keep it real, I feel like I've been a bitch lately. Feeling sorry for myself, things aren't going exactly how I want them to. I don't exactly like this situation, that situation, this relationship, that relationship. My dad's not doing good. Just all these things, just first world problems, looking for shit to feel sorry for myself about. And then just that little cycle of self-deprecation. My boy Tim Manson, shout out to Tim, has one of my favorite quotes I've ever done on this podcast, where he explains what living is to him. And
I've been living. You know what living is? Living is going through some adversity and struggle.
Hell yeah.
And overcoming that constantly overcoming struggle. And having somebody say you can't do it and you actually do it. And sometimes even self-sabotaging a little bit and fighting through that kind of stuff. And you get to a place where it's I know. I know it. There's a knowing.
It's in that regard, in that definition of what Tim said, I don't feel like I've been living. I haven't really been going through adversity or struggle or, I guess I have, but just it's been, it sounds weird. It's I want some true adversity. I want I don't know. It's hard to explain. Like I said, shit here can just get comfortable. And I think overall, this would be a great place to raise a family and, settle down. But I ain't ready to do that. I'm looking for a little more adventure. So, yeah, I don't know exactly. It's just, that's been all kind of in my head and why I think I've been a little silent. Although then a quick little update of that is my dad's actually doing good. Talked to him the other day for all the homies out there who've reached out over the last month or two since I said that on here. He's doing a lot better. I'm super excited to get back to the States in September, October, whenever it may be, and see that. And that's the thing is, I know right now I'm romanticizing going home because I haven't been there in 3 years, and helping, staying at my mom's, helping out with my dad, maybe getting some part-time job, serving, bartending, shout out E-Rock, just doing something. Shit that ultimately I know after a month or two, I'll be man, this isn't what I'm trying to do. And then I'll go through that thing, but it's I feel like I need that in a way. And then just traveling to, like, man, Asia's been on my mind for the last like 3 years, and the damn Corvid just threw wrench after wrench into that system. And so hopefully can get that going, and just some kind of new adventure, some new scenery, some discomfort. You know, it's like, I think an issue with a lot of people, myself included, is we seek comfort and being comfortable, and then, man, that makes you a little bit lazy. Makes you a little bit what's the word I'm looking for? Makes you a little content. And then you kind of close up. You get in your own bubble. Yeah. So I'm trying to change that. And so anyway, I had this little epiphany, call it, if you will, this weekend. Because, man, like you've probably heard, I go out in Finland to the bars. Way more than I ever have in my entire life. Way more than I would truly like to be honest. I've never been a big party, bar, club guy. But it's just kind of been fit for the course here. And again, you know, I growing up from all through college and everywhere else I've lived, pretty much it'd be like I'd be at home smoking weed. And so, you know, once you smoke that first joint, if you have a joint before you have a beer, the odds of you drinking a lot of beer that night are slim. Now, if you have a few beers and then a joint, you can keep the party rocking. But if the joint comes first, you ain't going to party too much normally. And I'd always been a joint first kind of dude. But out here, I don't do that. So once that first beer flows, the second and third one come a little bit quicker and a little bit easier. But it's never been my thing. It's not like, you know, it's fun, but it's been crazy to me, like when I'll get some of the younger dudes on the team or other friends that I know that'll hit me up like, yo, what's the move for tonight? And I'm like, damn, I never have been the guy that you hit up to ask what the move is. I'm like the opposite of that. And so, again, this epiphany came as I went out both Friday and Saturday this last weekend. And Friday, like, the night's ending, and some random dude starts talking to me that he's a fan of the TikTok thing. And, you know, it's been cool. I'm going to go on tangent on this shit. It's been cool that, like, some of the shit that I've said has resonated so well and people relate to it so much regarding the Finnish stuff. But then it's just like, and it's been cool too that I, like, figured out the formula of, like, yeah, just say Finland or Finnish people in the first 3 words and bam, it's 10 to 20,000 views easy. But it's just like it became unchallenging in a way, you know, to circle back. But anyway, this dude was a fan and he was cool. We were talking, and I don't know how we got onto this subject, but, like, he's talking about friends and family getting murdered and murdering people, and that Kuopio isn't as safe as people think, and yada yada, that he'd been, like, sexually assaulted growing, like some heavy shit, man. Some heavy shit that, like, you know, I like to talk about real shit, but I was just sitting there walking home afterwards and just like, bruh, I'm in the wrong box of rocks. You know, like, I feel one of the cool things about myself to compliment myself is, like, that I can kind of truly get along and, you know, not necessarily fit in, but get along with anybody. And, you know, whether no matter race, ethnicity, religion, where they come from, whatever, it's like if we truly get to talking, I think I can find some common ground with somebody. But it was just, you know, and so I don't mean to be judging this guy at all. You know, like I appreciated the conversation. But it also then just made me think like, bro, you don't need to be at this bar at 3:30 in the morning talking about this. You know, in the ultimate like grand scheme of it, I do need to be there. Like everything happens for a reason. I believe in that shit. So I did need to be there to know I needed to not be there, if that makes sense. And then the next night, same kind of shit. Like, end of the night, I see two girls that I know that I've kind of flirted with one I've flirted with throughout the year or so. And we get food, and they're like, all right, we're going to go eat back at our place. And they're like, as we were talking, this is before we got food, just like two random dudes come up to us. And the one dude's like, can I hang out with you? To like our little threesome group. No sexual, no homo, no sexual. And I'm like, well, we're standing in the middle of the fucking street basically. And I'm like, well, yeah, bro, you can stand here with us. And we didn't talk. He just kind of hung out with his buddy off to the side. And I'm like, all right, like weird vibes. And then, all right, we're going to get food. Have a good night. And they kind of follow us. And I'm like, all right, they're getting food too. We all order. They don't order. But they just got a weird, creepy vibe about them. And man, there's some fucking creepers out here. I think it's a much more innocent creepiness than in the States, at least with dudes. But once my spidey senses start tingling for creepers, like, I don't know. And so I can just see them like fucking creeping out, dog. And so we start walking back to the girl spot. And I, mind you, they haven't talked to the girls. They haven't really talked to me. The one dude was like a pretty good looking dude. And so I didn't know if like one of the chicks had kind of said something quietly of like, yeah, come back with me. Cause that's kind of how shit goes out here sometimes too at the end of the night. But then I looked at both the chicks and was like, pointed at the dude, like, is this one of y'all? And they both were like, no. And so I asked the dude, I'm like, where do you think you're going right now, bro? Because, again, I had seen this shit from afar. And the dude was like, oh, I don't need to talk to you or something. And I'm like, all right, this is now for sure not going to be a good situation at all. And so open the door of the apartment to like go in, main door. And dude just like kind of budges his way in. And I'm like, bro, you're not coming in, Like it made me just wonder, like, what the fuck would have happened? I'm no big tough guy, don't get me wrong. But it made me wonder what would happen if I wasn't here. And I don't know who touched who first, but next thing I know, I kind of got him like grabbing him in a way. And I realized like I'm starting to get a little grown man strength. It may not look like it, but shit, 31 after 15 years damn near of like consistent gym work and then just being older. And then his buddy kind of ran in, jumped up. I fucking lose my kebab all over the fucking floor. And I got both of these dudes. And at a certain point, like I said, I've never been a lover. I've never been a fighter. Always been a lover. And I thought to myself, oh shit, I'm about to be in a fight right now. And I wasn't going to swing on anybody till I get swung on. That's kind of like my motive for the most part. But I'm thinking, 2-on-1, like, let's fucking rock. And I got both of them. And I'm kind of like holding my own, pass blocking these dudes. And it's like, you guys are being fucking creepy. Like, nobody fucking invited you here. What are you doing? Get the fuck out of here. And it eventually calmed down. They eventually leave. The dude's like, to the one girl, oh, I'm sorry. Can I get your Snapchat? It's like, dude, what kind of fucking losers are out here, bro? Like, it's just a bad look overall. And so after I ate and I was walking home that night, I'm just thinking to myself, bro, what the fuck are you doing? Like, this ain't you. And so I've realized, like, okay, there's not too many external challenges out here. I realized, man, the challenge for, I'm only out here for 2 more months, más o menos. The challenge is an internal challenge. Let's get back to fucking meditating and doing some affirmation type shit and journaling and getting outside and not being so fucking addicted to the phone and, eating like shit and getting back to cooking and creating content more than I consume it. Like all these things that I've kind of believed in and built myself around the last few years, that in the last few months I've definitely gotten away from. I don't know, kind of going back, I realized I said self-deprecation. In a way, I guess that's true, but like Tim said in that quote, like it's self-sabotage. And it's like, ordering pizza once every other day and not cooking your meals and eating like shit and not working out and not doing this and that, like that's self-sabotage. And it's like it's a choice. So it's a little therapy session to start this. That's also I think why I haven't been doing this as much lately, is like some of that shit I didn't want to admit. I didn't want to go see the therapist, aka the camera, and have some people listen to this. Yeah. It's been funny too. Like every time I'm like, I don't want to do the pod today, and then I'll get a random message from somebody, like, hey, I really enjoyed the pod. I'm like, but it's like, I don't know, getting. I'm just in my own head, I've become a good overthinker to a degree. And I appreciate the people that like the pod. I think maybe it's because I kind of know like the move away from Finland is eventual, or like on the horizon, that I kind of like want to distance myself from that, because it's like become this little identity in a way, which again is like, it's dope. I'm glad like I figured it out. I'd like to maybe, knowing I can figure out that little niche, if that's what it is. It's like, all right, I can figure out some other niche. I got to figure out first what niche I want to actually do, because while it's kind of cool being famous in Finland, I don't know, as I said, until I'm married with kids, I don't know if I'm going to be back here living. We'll see. And that sounds so negative, and I don't mean it that way at all. But it's ironic that a lot of my stories are having to do with going out. And so then once I stop going out, I guess I won't stop. I used to always be in the mindset of like, if you go out, you got to have something to kind of celebrate. But then I got a little finish with it, and I'm just, well, it's Wednesday. Well, it's Friday. Well, it's whatever. You definitely adapt and assimilate to wherever you're living. When I was in Portugal, I'm drinking espresso like it's my job. What happened when I was in Poland? Anything? Nah, Poland. I don't know about Poland. Spain, Czech Republic. I don't know. I don't know if I was in those spots long enough to truly assimilate. But I've consistently been here, and yeah. But I'm just laughing, thinking, well, I can talk about some of this stuff this episode, but then what am I going to talk about these next episodes? But fuck it, we'll see. Well, first, I mean, I can always talk about football. Football's going well. We're 6-0. We just had a bye week this last week. I got my first flag for like talking shit, basically, and it's probably the least shit I've ever talked, ever. It was like a third down play, and the defense stopped us, and then their American linebacker like grabbed the ball and like rolled it away for like a delay of game kind of penalty. And so I was just yelling like, "Thank you, thank you," and then the ref gave me a flag for that, which like, you know, I've told people fuck you, and you know, I've told people way worse. Other teams here, according to some of my guys, are calling them the N-word. That in front of refs, that's yet to warrant a flag. But me saying thank you, and the refs. I mean, the refs everywhere are funny. In the States, they're hilarious. Out here, they are funny though too. At the coin toss, he was like, you know, don't let me be a part of this game or something. And it was like, and then he's gonna throw a flag for saying thank you. So like, all right, buddy. And then I asked him later on in the game, I was like, so what exactly did I get a flag for? And he was like, you told the guy that it was his fault that he got the penalty. And I was like, yeah, it was. He's like, yeah, that's taunting. It's like, oh, well, there's taunting on every single play then. So it's just like a funny one. It's like in baseball, I got ejected from one game when I was like 13 or 14, maybe, I don't know, 15. And again, it was like for some of the least shit I'd ever done. You know, I've always been a little outspoken, willing to speak my mind, as you may have noticed. And I think I got called strike 3, strikeout, and I think I just said like, that's ridiculous or something, like kind of under my breath. Like I didn't even look at the ump as I was walking away. I was like, that's ridiculous. And he tossed me. And I'm like, what? It's like, I've drawn a line on the ground before, which is like super illegal or, you know, super frowned upon. I've looked at guys crazy. I'm sure I've said something. And so it's like, I guess when I get a flag, it's on some wild shit. But thank you takes the cake. Yeah, I've been watching too. I don't know anybody who listens to this, if you care at all about the ELF, the European League of Football. It's like 4 different countries with maybe 12 different teams, I think, this year. It's slowly expanding. And it's pretty cool. Like I don't know if I'll get a shot, because a lot of the teams out there want to get like the big name, fresh out of Division I, young quarterback kind of thing. But it would take the right situation, I guess, for me. And to be honest, I'm kind of looking forward to getting back to like OCing in the next couple years, QB and OCing. But I'd like to be a part of it. But I've been watching some of the highlights of those games and stuff like that, and it's like, it's just kind of a thing I've noticed, I guess, throughout Europe and European football, is just like the strategies, like the idea of adjustments are just not like in the forefront of a lot of minds in European football. And I've been trying to figure out exactly why. And I think it has to do slightly with like soccer and like hockey and even basketball to a degree being such like the like more prevalent sports, but mainly soccer, obviously, in Europe. And in that, it's like the coach is kind of like, it's not like he's calling plays. It's like he has decided the strategy for the game before the game, and then kind of just trying to put guys in the right spot, and then just like letting it go. It would be like, I always equate football to chess. And it'd be like having your initial chess opening sequence set up, but then just like continuing to do it despite the opponent doing a different opening than what you'd planned on. And so then you're moving your rook to get trapped by a pawn, even though the play doesn't even, the move doesn't even make sense. And so the ELF, I just notice it everywhere. And that's like, that is considered the highest level out here, but it even exists there, where it doesn't really seem like QBs are like reading too much. It's just kind of all like, well, throw it to this guy on this play. I don't know. And it makes sense though, because there's not that many good quarterback coaches / offensive coordinators in the States. And so then, even though at the like highest level of ELF, to expect them to get someone there that can be high, like, that's almost impossible. So it's just, I don't know, something I've noticed, but it's fun to watch those games. There's like quite a few dudes that I've played with or against or on the same team at some point, and I'm interested to see how that evolves. One funny thing though that did happen to me at the bar this weekend, or when was it? Maybe it might have been last week. I haven't done this in a while. But I was in line to buy a drink, and I was there with a friend. I was in line with two girls. We're, talking. And this other girl comes up to them and says something to them in Finnish. And they kind of like, okay, look at her like, what the fuck, and shoo her off or whatever. And I'm like, well, what'd she say? And she's like, oh, she was just warning us that you're super misogynistic and that we shouldn't talk to you and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, what? And it's just comical to me. Also because Karma is a bitch, and literally as soon as she got her drink and was walking down the stairs, she slipped and fell right on her ass and lost her entire drink. So that one was like a quick karma to see, like, why are you talking shit? And it's just always like it's like fail proof that if some young girl starts talking out at the bars or whatever, and I have this little reputation from like one video that I say, if you let me hit on the first date, I probably won't date you, a year ago, that just is ingrained in people's memories, that they'll get on this misogynistic feminism train. Like, same thing in the last week or two, this little 18-year-old girl was like, so are you a feminist? And I was like, well, yeah. I go, first, what does feminism mean to you? Like, what's the definition? Because if we're gonna, it's like the neoliberals, like the feminists have like hijacked the movement to make the actual meaning of the word not mean what it really means. I would consider myself a liberal. I would consider myself like a true liberal, even though fucking Colby always says that to make fun of me. And I'm like, bro, I'm not a liberal anymore. Like, that's our linebacker who's from South Carolina likes to call me a liberal as a joke. And it gets under my skin because even though I am a liberal, like if you went by the definition of it, let's see the definition of liberal. Liberal definition. Liberal definition: willing to respect or accept behavior or opinions different from one's own, open to new ideas. I would definitely say I am that. That's an adjective. I guess the noun. So I am liberal, but I am not a liberal, I guess. let me see. Noun, a supporter of policies that are socially progressive and promote social welfare. A supporter of political and social philosophy that promotes individual rights, civil liberties, democracy, and free enterprise. Okay, I am both. I'm liberal and I am a liberal. But the fucking far left has hijacked that term so much that when he calls me a liberal, and I know what he's trying to say, he's saying far left to like get under my skin. I say, I'm not a fucking liberal. And that's the same shit with feminism. It's like, and so that's when the girl asked me that, are you a feminist? I was like, well, what is a feminist? What's feminism? What's your definition of it? And as soon as I said that, like I could see the look in her eye of like, I don't know. She's like, well, it's being equal despite gender and sexuality and race. And I'm like, well, then, yeah, in that case, I'm a feminist. But just so you know, your definition of feminism is wrong. It has nothing to do with sexuality. It has nothing to do with race. It's strictly about gender. It's strictly about men and women. Which is also ironic because it's hard now, or some might say impossible, to define what a woman is. That's just the far left eating its tail. And so I said, no, then, according to that, yeah, I am. It's like, I think most people in the Western world, I would say, I don't know what the percentage is, would be for equality and treating people the same. Again, most, not all. Of course, there's always going to be a shitty 10% in everything you do, no matter what the group is, no matter what the setting is. But do you realize, like, how many times in your life have you heard someone say, no, I don't think there should be equal rights? I'm not a supporter of equal rights. We all have that stupid, ignorant friend that's a little racist, a little sexist, a little whatever. Yeah, maybe. But have you ever heard someone ever say that? And I know the thing will be like, they'll talk about a wage gap, and it's like a lot of these things can be on one side or the other, proven correct or incorrect. And I don't really care to get into it. But it's like, at the core of it, it's like, and I've seen this happen personally, and I'm a guy, so I kind of relate more to that side, because that's what I am. It's easier for me to relate to that. But I've seen it recently with friends that, like, girls can lie about some shit, no matter what the shit may be from a legal standpoint, and their word gets believed a lot more than the guy's does. Like, the guy, you need a witness as a guy, normally. And I heard a TikTok video. Ironically, it came up yesterday. There's some American chick that does a podcast in London or something, and she is the ultra feminists would hate her because she does not agree with exactly what they think. And she was saying, like, if a man hits a woman, like, he'll get 3 times the sentence than if a woman hits a man. And then the counter argument was like, well, yeah, because there's a strength difference or whatever. And she goes, okay, well, if Bob hit Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, who's much stronger than him, and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson smacks him back, would anyone feel sorry for Bob? And they're like, no. And there would be no difference in punishments. And she's like, and so in that case, it's like there's a huge difference in strength. And so it's just interesting. I've seen, unfortunately, because like, dude, the fucked up part about it is when people lie, when in this instance that I'm talking about, when women lie about assault, whatever the assault may be, like, it's fucked up. And when people over exaggerate any wrongdoing that I think a majority of people would agree they don't want to have in this world and there's no place for it. But when people lie, all it then does is detract and like minimize the people that it's actually happening to. It's because then it just makes people believe in it a little bit less. When everything on earth gets called racist, that the reason for everything is racist, it makes then truly, truly, truly racist shit not as big of a deal. It's like the boy who cried wolf. You know what I mean? It's like it still is a big deal, but in the big picture, the more that you call something, it just it makes it less serious. It makes it more common, and that's a problem. I've told it on here before. Some chick punched me in the face out of nowhere, tried to do it a second time, and then went in and told the bouncer I hit her and that I told her I was going to rape her. Luckily, because the bouncer came out, believed her, came up to me like, yeah, time to go. I said, what's up? And he explained that to me. Luckily, I was talking to two girls at the time who backed me up and said, no, that did not happen at all. That girl is crazy. But if it was just my word versus her word, I would have been kicked out of that bar. Who knows what could have actually then happened? And so that's what's like fucked up a little, and I'm not trying to victim shame or like make light of anything that does happen. I hope I kind of proved that by the opening story of like almost fighting two creepy motherfuckers that are trying to get into this house. Like I'm not with that shit at all. But I'm also not with the bullshit of lying either. So I don't know how the hell I got to there. I don't know where the hell I go from there. It's just the victim mentality. I don't know. I had just so many stupid fucking stories, bro. That, again, is part of the reason I'm reevaluating what the fuck I'm doing sometimes. But I was out smoking a cigarette on the balcony, group of people, and some chick I don't know, like friend of a friend, like kind of like didn't ask, like demanded I give her a cigarette. And I had like 3 left. But then the way that it was demanded, I was like, I don't know her. But more so it was the way that it was asked, quote unquote. I was like, no. And she's like, oh, are you homophobic? I'm like, what? She's like, you're homophobic. I'm like, what are you talking about? I just said no to giving you a cigarette. Yeah, but I'm gay. Bitch, I don't know you're gay, okay? I have no clue about that. I'm telling you no because I have 3 left and you don't know me and demanded I give you a cigarette, so go fuck yourself. It's like, just I don't know. I'm fucking scared for this world, bro. We are on the verge of some shitty times, I think. On a much lighter note, I've been seeing some belly button rings lately. It just shows you that styles just go in circles. I hadn't seen a belly button ring for like 10 years, it felt like. And now lately it's just like they're just popping back up again. And I got to say, I like them. Belly button rings are kind of like a little fishing lure. You know, it attracts the fish. Kind of catches the eye. It's like, you know, the little shiny thing. But, damn, I got to think of a good analogy for this. Hold on. Let me research this real quick. Okay, here we go. I just Googled what makes a good fishing lure. And a lipped crankbait, paddle tail, or screw tail, I feel like you got to say that in a southern accent, would all be a good choice. But a jigging spoon, which doesn't wobble much at all, a stick bait, or a straight bucktail needs action added by the angler with his or her hands on the rod at all times. So, in that analogy, the belly button piercing is like a screw tail lure. You know, it's just there. You don't got to do much with it. It adds its own little thing. But a tongue ring is that jigging spoon, baby. You got to do a little bit of work by the angler, but that shit works like a charm. You know, I see a tongue ring and I'm curious. You have my attention. The belly button ring is like the tongue ring of the body. Catches your attention, makes you think about some things, but nothing compares to that tongue ring, boy. You see that, you know it's about to be a good day fishing. We'll just put it like that. And yeah, but tongue rings, man. I mean, belly button rings. They're back. In other news, in celebrity news that no one really cares about, I guess Shakira's husband, who's a soccer player, cheated on her, or has been cheating on her. And that just lets you know something I've learned throughout my life, that no matter how good looking a girl is, there's always a guy that's tired of fucking her. And that goes both ways, ladies. I know. Or as good of I think it actually goes mainly just guy to girl, actually. I don't know if it works the other way around. If you wanted to be a little more politically correct, you could say that no matter how good looking a person is, there's always someone that's tired of their shit. That would make everybody happy. We're not here to make everybody happy, though. But yeah, I mean, and that's just kind of the lesson, too, of like, you want what you can't have. You know, I'm low-key sick of the fucking light now. And again, I'm looking for shit to be sick of. And that's one of them. You know, but the other night, it was kind of cloudy, and it legit got dark for an hour. And I was like, damn, I miss the dark. This shit feels good. That's one thing I'm excited about going back to the States, is like a semi-regular light, dark schedule. Because this whole like 20 hours of darkness, then 22 hours of light polarity is just, I don't think it's good for your brain. It ain't good for my brain. I can tell you that. But you want what you can't have. When it's super dark, you're like, man, I can't wait for it to be super light. When it's super light, you're like, man, I wish it could get dark. You know, when you're in a relationship, sometimes you're like, man, I want to be out playing the field. When you're out playing the field, you're thinking, man, I wish I had a good little relationship to be in. It's just like human nature. If you're fucking Shakira, or if you're married to Shakira, you're thinking, man, I'd like to fuck with a Russian. You got a Russian, you're thinking, damn, I wouldn't mind a little Brazilian girl. Damn, that hit home for me right there. I'm not going to get into that story. At least not this time. Speaking of Russia, old Brittany Grimer got arrested in Russia. I guess she's been arrested now for like 100 days or something. And there's all this stuff on social media, Twitter, saying like, well, if it was LeBron instead of her, he would have been released within the first day. It's like, yeah, that might be true, but you know, the difference between LeBron and Brittany Grimer is probably more than half of you motherfuckers listening right now don't have a clue who Brittany Grimer is. And all of you know who LeBron is. It's like, and for those that don't know, she's a WNBA player. She's hella good. She's like 6'7". She's dunked a few times in the game. She's boss. She plays in Russia because you get paid more, I guess. But she got caught bringing weed in and something else, I think, in the airport in Russia. And look, as we discovered, I'm a liberal. I'm all for things being legalized or decriminalized. Like, I don't think anybody should be in jail long for weed. But I also know if you're going to a foreign country that's super strict and whose president silences people and people get arrested for protesting, you probably shouldn't do something illegal there. And so while I have sympathy and I don't think she should be in jail, I don't have a ton of sympathy because, motherfucker, you brought weed into a country where weed is hella illegal. It's like, what? And people, that'd just be, well, it's because she's a woman. It's like, no, it's because it's Russia. Like, what? Looking for any angle to make any agenda come true. So I'm going to stay up to date on that trial. I think she gets out soon. I don't know. She could be there for a while. She just like disappeared during COVID, I guess. I mean, she was in Russian jail. I don't think they have Twitter. I don't think they have Twitter at all in Russia. But also then, speaking of basketball, a weird thing here about Finland I've noticed is motherfuckers will play basketball strictly as a hobby here. I have never seen so many shitty jump shots having more fun in my life. You know, maybe it's just the American competitive person in me, but like, that'd be like me just going to the park and playing soccer and fucking missing the net 7 out of 10 times. And on top of that, having a lot of fun doing it. And again, maybe it's the athlete in me. That shit wouldn't be any fun for me. Like, and it's not like you see people practicing like, okay, I need to get my elbow in. I need to get under the ball. I need to reach in the cookie jar kind of thing. No, they're just out there fucking throwing the ball at the hoop, praying to hit the rim. Meanwhile, having the time of their lives. I'm slightly envious. Because I couldn't, what do I do that I'm that bad that I did slacklining the other day and I was bad at it, man. Like needed someone to hold on to the whole time. And that was fun. You know, so maybe that's my slack, you know, that's their basketball's like my slack line where, you know, but I was only doing that one time. You know, and so maybe they're only doing that one time, but that's just something I noticed. All right, ladies and gentlemen, good to be back. Hope you're doing wonderfully. Shout out to my boy Ant, made a huge purchase on livinforaliving.live/shop. He got literally the entire order that if I was going to make an order today, he got what I'd get. So my man has good taste. That's all I really know. But it's good to be back. Good to hear my own voice. We'll see you next time. All right. Peace and much love. Holla. You know how shitty a bar is by how much it smells like cleaning supplies. If the first thing you smell when you go into a bar is Clorox, the drinks are going to be cheap, boy. And I hate that I know that. And I hate that I'm telling you that. But that's just something I had to pass along.